Hare Krishna. I welcome all of you for our this session of Bhagavad Gita. So today we are on chapter number 7. Yeah. And we start with chapter number 7. The objective of this class is to enable reading of the shlok, to understand the basic meaning of the shlok, and to help understand the basic philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. So chapter 7, knowledge of the absolute. This is what we will continue today. Now, this chapter 7 is also divided into 5 sections. We started with the first section last time, the glory of knowledge about Lord Krishna. And today we will continue, we'll again repeat the first section, and then we'll go to knowledge of Lord Krishna's energies. We'll move towards that. And what we covered in the last class was that the 6th chapter that we covered is a yogi is greater than tapasvi, jnani and karmi. That is what we read. And bhakti yoga, who serves Krishna, is the best of all yogis. And then we read about the glories of chapter 6 from Pad Puran, about the story of King Janashruti and Raik Rishi. And it is said, as per Pad Puran, that if someone reads chapter 6 every day, then he gets the Swarup of Vishnu, and he gets liberated. It means he'll be with Vishnu in the same lok, and with the same Swarup of Vishnu, yeah, and gets liberated. So chapter 7 from now, as we talked about in the last class, from chapter 7 to chapter 12. So Gita is divided into 3 parts. The first 6 chapters, 7th to 12th chapter, and 13th to 17th chapter. 18th is a summary of all the chapters, right? In the first 6 chapter, we learned about Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Dhyana Yoga. That was the most focused in that chapter. And the last shlok, we'll talk about like that again. The last shlok of the Dhyana Yoga was that we should do Bhakti Yoga. And from there, and then chapter 7 onwards, Krishna starts Bhakti Yoga. Now, this Bhakti Yoga, as you know, we talked about a jewel box where you have, you know, the top, the bottom part, the top part, and you keep the jewels inside securely locked. That's why Krishna, what he has done is, the first 6 chapter is about realizing that you are, you know, talking about the realization for a normal person that, you know, you're not this body, but you are the soul, and you have you have to move towards the absolute truth. So that is that knowledge is like a bottom part of a jewel box. And the chapter from 13 to 17 is more like the lid of the jewel box. But the jewel inside the jewel box that we keep is actually chapter 7 to chapter 12. Yeah, that is the most important. Why is it so? Because these are the chapter where Krishna actually reveals himself. He talks about himself. Till now, he had been, you know, hardly there are 5-6 he has talked about mat, mam. He has not used those word mad. These are the not words he has used. But now onwards, he start talking about about his glory, like, and especially when you look at 7th and 8th chapter, he'll be talking more about the external energies or external glory of external spiritual, those glories of Krishna. And when you go to the 9th, 10th, 11th chapter, it is more about his personality, his sweetness. That is the Gyan and Vigyan part of Krishna. That's what he'll talk about, right? So in the whole chapter, in the whole Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9th is the most important chapter. That is the mid, like 18 chapters, 9th is half of that. So Krishna has given the most confidential knowledge in the 9th chapter. And in the 9th chapter, the last stroke of the last chapter is actually you know, you can say the essence of Gita. That is the 9th chapter, last stroke is the essence of Gita. So when we go there, we'll talk about that, right? So it is called knowledge of the absolute. Chapter 7 is called knowledge of the absolute. So I'll quickly, you know, talk a bit more about the shlok that we learned so that we can relate and continue on this chapter. In the 6th chapter, the last shlok was Yoginam api sarvesham mad katena antaratma atmana Shraddhavan bhajte yo mam, sa me yukta tamo mata. Yukta tamo is the highest. Yukta tamo. Tamo is highest. He is the highest in mata. In my opinion, he is the highest yogi. Who is the highest yogi? Mad gatenantaratmana. Someone who is, thinking about me inside his always. Shraddhavan bhajte yomam. With all the faith, he is always praying me. So those yogi who is doing that, they are the yuktamo. They are the highest. That's what he has told. And from here, he takes us to the 7th chapter, first slok, which says, and then Krishna explains the process of how to get him. The first slok of the Bhagavad Gita, when you 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, now Krishna starts talking about the process of Bhakti Yoga. How can you actually approach Krishna? So he says, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, he says, Maya asakt manah partha, yogam yujjan mad ashrayah, asanshayam samagram mam, yatha gyasati tachuru. Right? This is what he said. Maya asakt manah partha. A Parth, A Arjun, who? Maya asakt mana. Mana is mind. What do you have to do? Maya is mind. Asakt means who is always asakt, is basically absorbed. Asakt is absorbed. Whose mind is always absorbed in me. Whose mind is always how to get Krishna. Whose mind is always absorbed in me. Yogam yujjanma. That is the highest yogi. That is bhakti yogi. And then he says, Mad Ashraya. Mad means mind, and Ashraya means shelter. Whose mind is absorbed in me and who has taken my shelter. Mad Ashraya means my shelter. Someone who has taken my shelter. Asanshaya. Ansanshaya, without doubt. Sanshaya is doubt. Asanshaya is without doubt. Samagram mam, will completely know me. Yatha gyasisi tachuru. And how? So now here, tachuru means listen. So that's what Krishna says. Now, to know anything, when you talk about Bhakti Yoga, there are 9 processes in Bhakti Yoga, and the foremost of it is hearing. So Krishna starts saying, now you listen. To Arjuna is saying, now you listen, because he is going to explain about himself. Yeah. So he tells Arjun, now you listen. Tachuru. And hearing is the most important process, because only through hearing we actually gain the knowledge. And when you gain the knowledge, you want to know more. Right? And when you read, you may not be able to relate, but someone who is speaking, then that person would have learned and heard and would be giving you the gyan which can make a complete sense to someone, right? So Krishna, hearing is the most important, the first process that is followed in the Bhakti Yoga. So just to repeat that meaning in English, the first slok, repeat after me. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said,
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said,
Now hear, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga, in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So there's no doubt about it. If your mind is absorbed in me and you have taken my shelter, then you will come to know about me, right? And then now he says, Tachru. Now listen, what is he going to say in the second stroke? He says, Jnanam teham savijnanam. Idam vaksham sheshatah. Yajgyatva neha bhuyonyat. Gyatavyam avishishyate. Jnanam teham savijnanam. Idam vaksham sheshatah. Yajgyatva neha bhuyonyat. Gatvayam avasheshyata. So here Krishna says, he says, now he is going to tell us 2 knowledge. He's going to give us 2 knowledge. Gyan is knowledge. Te aham sa vigyan. And sa vigyan is the applied knowledge. So he's going to give us 2 knowledge, 2 types of knowledge. Idam. And then vaksham. When you have come to know about this, there is nothing more. Viewers, there's nothing more further that you need to know. So he's going to give us a complete knowledge here, right? So let's read the English meaning in English. I shall now declare
I shall now declare
unto you
unto you
in full this knowledge,
in full this knowledge,
both phenomenal
both phenomenal
and numinous.
and numinous.
This being known,
This being known,
nothing further shall remain for you to know.
nothing further shall remain for you to know.
So there's a short form called JJJ. JJJ is Jiva. Jiva is spirit. Yeah, so he has talked about spirit. Then Jagat, the material world, and Jagdish. Jagdish is the controller of this. In English, we say it MSC. M is matter, spirit, and the controller of that. Yeah, that is the entire knowledge. Yeah, so when you talk about knowledge, what he's going to give us? He's going to tell the knowledge about this material world, the spiritual world, the opulences. That's what he's going to talk about in knowledge. And when he talks about Vigyan, he's going to talk about his personal sweetness, his personal attribute, and more about himself, right? These are the two things he will explain. So we go to the third shlok. मनुष्याणां सहस्रेषु
मनुष्याणां सहस्रेषु
कश्चिद्यतति सिद्धये
कश्चिद्यदति सिद्धये
यततामपि सिद्धानां
यततामपि सिद्धानां
कश्चिन्मां वेति तत्त्वतः
कश्चिन्मां वेति तत्त्वतः
मनुष्याणां सहस्रेषु
मनुष्याणां सहस्रेषु
कश्चिद्यतति सिद्धये
कश्चिद्यदति सिद्धये
यततामपि सिद्धानां
यततामपि सिद्धानां
कश्चिन्मां वेति तत्त्वतः
कश्चिन्मां वेति तत्त्वतः
Manushyanam sahasreshu. Sahasreshu means thousands and thousands. Among thousands and thousands of in Manushyanam, of the mankind, of people. Kashchid yati siddhe. Very few who wants to know about the siddhi, the transcendental knowledge. The knowledge which can take you out of this material world, out of this cycle of birth and death. Yeah. And then yatataamapi siddhanam. And out of that, the yogis who is trying to go for siddhas, question ma vedi tattvata. There is hardly anyone who can know me, who can understand my tattva, who can really know my essence. That's what he explains here. Now, if you really look around the entire world, around the entire mankind that we know of, Manushyanam, that you can think about the entire world. Whatever religion we have, the highest thing that they can talk about is heaven or hell. It ends with heaven or hell. The heaven as well hell, both are a part of this material world. Both are a part of this material world, right? Even if you go to do pious deed, you're in a mode of goodness, you're doing a lot of pious deed, you're giving lot of things to, doing a lot of donation and creating, building this dharmshala, hospitals, whatever you are doing, serving a lot of poor people, all comes under mode of goodness, and you will be taken to heaven. Once your pious activity finishes, you will again come down to the earth. So you are not you are not coming out of the cycle of birth and death, right? Now it is only the shastras that we have in in Sanatana Dharma which actually talks above the heaven and hell. It tells us how to actually come out of this material world. And what is the process to? That is a transcendental knowledge. As soon as we use the word transcendent, means transcend the cycle of birth and death. It is beyond the material world, which can take you out of this material world to the spiritual world. That knowledge is only now. So out of, imagine how many religion is there. There are very few. There are very few who actually wants to learn that and wants to go above that, right? And out of that, there how many would have been who will actually be learning about Krishna, knowing Krishna, following Krishna, and has dedicated their life to Krishna and is and doing nothing but Krishna. Very few. And out of that also, how many has really understood? Yeah. So he says it's very few, right? And last time we talked about not only human beings, we talked about the Brahma Vimohan Leela, how even Brahma also got bewildered. Looking at, he could not understand Krishna. And finally, he had to come in and take forgiveness from Krishna. We talked about that story last time, right? So now we'll start today from shlok number, fourth. And just to support that that point that Krishna has made, that Manushanam Sahasreshu, that out of thousands of them, if you remember, we in the 4th chapter we talked about a shlok which says, Janma Karmcha me divyam. My appearance, Janm, my appearance, Karm, my activities. They both are divyam, they are both are divine. My appearance and my activities are both divine. Evam yo veti tatvata. Tattva means who can understand the essence. Veti means no. If anyone can understand that tattva, that essence, then what will happen? Tyaktva deham. Deham is this material body. If someone has understood that tattva, then tyaktva deham punarjanma. And once they have left this material body, they will never take birth again, right? They will actually come to my abode. Neti mameti sa Arjuna. They'll come and stay with me. They'll come to my abode. That's what it says. So knowing that tattva is, it really you have to know Krishna. You have to be in Krishna like the gopis of Vrindavan. They are the highest devotee someone can talk about, right? Only such if someone is at that stage probably can understand Krishna, right? Now, another shlok which is in this 7th chapter itself, the 19th shlok, it says, Bahunam Jamanamante Gyanvan Mam Prapadyate Vasudevam Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sadurlabha. Krishna says, Bahunam means many. Bahunam Janmanam Ante. After many births, in the end, Ante is end, in the end of many births, Gyanavam Prapadyate. Those who have acquired lot of high knowledge, what will they prapadyate? They'll surrender to me. Only those after many births of following this knowledge, if only those who have they have got the knowledge, they will surrender to me. And then why they'll surrender to me? Vasudevam Sarvamiti. Because at that time they will understand that Krishna is everything. Vasudevam Sarvam Iti. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Such Mahatma, such great soul is Durlabh. Durlabh means is very rare. Understood? This is what he says. So he says, after many births and deaths, he who is actually knowledge will surrender unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Okay? So this is what was the first 3 shlok that we talked about also in the last class. And now we'll start today from shlok number 4th onwards. 4th to 12 we'll try to cover. Now the shlok number 4th to 7th. There this whole here Krishna is trying to explain, is trying to help us understand about his energies, Krishna's energies, right? So let us go to shlok number 4. Bhumirapo analo vayuhu.
Bhumirapo nalo vayu.
Khammano buddhireva cha.
Kammano buddhireva cha.
Ahankara iti yamme.
Ahankara iti yamme.
Bhinna prakritirashtadha.
Vinna prakritirashtadha.
Bhumirapo analo vayuhu.
Bhumirapo nalo vayu.
Khammano buddhireva cha.
Kammano buddhireva cha.
Ahankara iti yamme.
Ahankara iti yamme.
Bhinna prakritir ashtadha.
Vinna prakritirashtadha.
So now, next 4 shlok, Krishna will explain about his external energies. Okay. Now, what is he saying? Yeah, Mataji, please read. Rupa, where you start.
Bhumirapo nalo vayu.
Bhumirapo analo vayuhu.
Kammano buddhireva cha.
Khammano buddhireva cha.
Ahankara iti yamme.
Ahankara iti yamme.
Bhinna prakritirashtadha.
Bhinna prakritirashtadha. So, Bhumi, earth. Apo. Apo is water. Apsu is water. Anal is fire. Anal is fire. Vayu is air. And Kham is space. Man is mind. Buddhi is intelligence. And Ahankara, Prabhupada has described as Ahankara is ego. He has explained it as false ego. Yeah. Iti these 8 asht. What are these asht? They are bhinna. Bhinna is different energies that is there. So earth, water, let's read the English meaning. Earth, water, fire, air,
Earth, water, fire, air,
ether, mind,
ether, mind,
intelligence and false ego,
intelligence and false ego,
all together,
altogether,
these 8 constitute
these 8 constitute
my separated material energies.
my separated material energy.
So now he is talking about the material energies that he has. So now just think about earth. Everything in the earth is his. Water, he's water. Fire, vayu, water, space, mind, buddhi, everything, all these are his different energies. So the question is how, and then in Bhagavatam, so basically in Bhagavatam, here later in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will explain that this whole material world is nothing but Prakriti, and all of us are a part of this Prakriti, and there's only one Purusha, which is he. There's only one Purusha, which is he, right? And now in Bhagavatam explains about how Krishna actually manages this thing. So it explains about his plenary expansions. And Krishna's, if you have heard about Purusha Avatara, the Purusha Avatara, Krishna's Purusha Avatara is 3. It's called Mahavishnu or Karnodakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and Shirodakshaya Vishnu. He says, in Bhagavatam it says that these are the plenary expansions of Krishna. Yeah, Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and Shirodakshaya Vishnu. Now the Mahavishnu, he is actually in the spiritual sky, and when he actually breathes, when he breathes from his skin pores, actually the multiple universe actually comes out. So this is not the only universe, there are multiple of universe. Yeah, and from his skin pores, actually from his breathing, the multiple universe comes out. Okay, now expansion of Mahavishnu is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Expansion of Mahavishnu is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. This Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is actually each of this Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is actually situated in each of the universe which is created by the Mahavishnu to manage that particular universe. Are you with me? Yeah, and this so in each of the universe there is a Garbhodakshaya Vishnu which is actually responsible for managing that particular universe, right? And then expansion of that is Shirodakshaya Vishnu. Shirodakshaya, and this Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, which you can see here, and if you have gone to Kerala, if there's a Padmanabh temple, right, which we say that the temple where you have the, when it was the highest number of wealth that has come, that is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, who is lying in the bottom of the ocean, there is a from his navel, a lotus comes up, and at the top of the lotus, Brahma is there. That's what you will see in the Padmanabh temple in the Kerala, right? And there you will see that the Brahma is there. Now this Nabi, that the what do you call it? The stem of the lotus, that has all the 14 planets. That has not planets, which we have got, we say that there are 14 what do you call it, 14 there are 7 up and the 7 down, right? Lokas, the 7 lokas, we say there are 14 lokas, right? We say there are 14 lokas, right? Yeah, but and the middle of that lok is actually the earth. So the stem that you see, the stem of the lotus that you are seeing, that consists of all the 14 lokas. The center of that is earth. The top 7, the highest, that is called, where is a Brahma lok, where you see Brahma is actually there. And from earth, there's 7 down, which is the various levels of hell that we have. Patal lok, the different lok, right? You got it? So that is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. That is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, from where Brahma has come, right? That is the thing. Now, his expansion is the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. That we talk about the Vishnu who is actually resting in the milk ocean. Kshirodakshaya. Kshir is milk. Yeah. So Kshirodakshaya Vishnu is the one who is actually, we say that, he is actually lying down in the Anantashayam, who is lying down. He is situated in every living entity as the super soul. Fine. So this is how Bhagavatam explains the Purush avatars of Krishna. So Krishna has got various avatars. He's got Leela Avatara, Purusha Avatara. So the Purusha Avatara has got 3 Vishnus. I have you. So it's Mahavishnu, who actually is lying in the spiritual realm, kingdom, and when he breathes from his skin pores, various universes comes out, and when he breathe out, when he breathes in, all of them also it gets back, right? And that's the span between the breathe in, breathe out is the, we'll talk about that in Bhagavatam, how much it is. Yeah, that it talks about the origin and pralay, it talks about that. So, and then his expansion is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, who has the stem, the lotus coming out from his navel, at the top of which Brahma is seated. And in this stem, you have all the 14 lokas. And the middle loka is the earth, where all of us are here. Yeah. And above that, the 7 loka, the purer you become, you higher you go. The 3rd loka is the Swarg Lok. So the religion around, they can maximum know about that. But all these things are material world, right? And then below is hell, right? And hell also, in our Shastras, they talk about what are the different hells we have. We talk about 7 hells. We talk about the 7 layers of the 7 hell type lok. We talk about the hell, right? Yeah. So that is what it is. And then the expansion of that is the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, and who is actually lying in the milk ocean, and he is the one who is situated in the heart of every living entity as Paramatma or super soul. We are clear about that? So this is how the cosmic manifestation has been explained in Bhagavatam about and that's how it talks about Bhumi, Rapo, and also you can imagine the energies of Krishna. Yeah. Okay, then we talk about also there are 3, when you talk about pralay from a human perspective, you can also think about a pralay. There are multiple types. So when the human body, when the human dies, that's the first pralay. It's a small pralay for that, right? And then what happened? Then the Kal Yug. Once that Yug ends, then there's another. That's a pralay. Then the Brahma. When it finishes, Brahma's life is of 100 days. When the 100 days and 100 nights, when that finishes, then there's a pralay. And then finally, there is a Mahapralay when everything vanishes, right? And then, so you can imagine Krishna as the owner of everything. He's owner of everything. Now, you can think about a great, a very big industrialist who owns many things. So what he'll do, he will be enjoying or he'll be relaxing, but he will, for his to manage his factories, he hires CEO, or he hires managing director who is actually taking care of his different factories, right? But he is free. Yeah. When he fishes, he will go to the different factories as and when he feels. So that's how Krishna is. Krishna, the difference between Krishna and Vishnu is Krishna is the overall owner of everything, and he in his, he's enjoying in Vrindavan, in Golok Vrindavan. He owns everything, and when Krishna is sitting in office, it is Vishnu. So basically, Vishnu is Vishnu is someone who is actually taking care of the day-to-day, we get the palanhara. All those things are taken care by Vishnu. He is like a judge in office and a judge at home. The judge at home will be free and people, he'll be like enjoying with his family. But same judge, when he's sitting in his position, everyone is scared, right? That is what it is. That's how you can relate to the yeah. Sorry. Now we go to the 5th slok. Apareyam itastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param जीवभूता महाबाहो
जीवभूता महाबाहो
यये धार्यते जगत्
ययेदं धार्यते जगत्
अपरेयम् इतस्त्वं त्वन्याम्
अपरेयमितस्वन्याम्
प्रकृतिं विद्धि मे पराम्
प्रकृतिं विद्धि मे पराम्
जीवभूता महाबाहो
जीवभूता महाबाहो
यये धार्यते जगत्।
ययेदं धार्यते जगत्
माताजी
अप्रेयम् इतस्त्वया अन्याम्
अपरेयम् इतस्त्वन्याम्
प्रकृतिं विद्धि मे पराम्
प्रकृतिं विद्धि मे पराम्
जीवभूता महाबाहो
जीवभूता महाबाहो
यायेदं धार्यते जगत्
ययेदं धार्यते जगत्। Now here Krishna says, there he talked about the material world. Now he talks about aparayam. Aparayam is inferior. Aparayam means inferior. Param is superior, right? He says, aparayam itastvan anyam. Apart from this, Mahabaho, O Arjun. Mahabaho is Arjun. Prakritim vidhi me param. There is another energy which is superior. There is another energy which is superior. So I have explained to you about my material energy which is inferior. But apart from this, there is another energy which is superior. And what is that? Jiva Bhuta Mahabaho. They are the living entities. The living entities are my superior energy. The soul is my superior energy. And then he says, Yayedam Dharyate Jagat. What are they doing? The superior energy, what is doing? They are Yayedam Dharyate Jagat. They are actually using this material energy. They are actually using this material energy. Understood? So the material world that you talked about, they cannot do anything on their own. For example, a wood will just be lying there unless someone, a spiritual, a soul, a person with the soul manipulates it, makes it a table, makes it a chair, right? Otherwise it will be lying as it is there. So they are dead matters. Their matter is there, but they are dead matter, means they cannot do anything on their own. Yayedam Dharyate Jagat means it is the superior energy of mind, which is the living entity, which exploits or uses the matter to make things. Understood? Let's read the meaning of it. Besides these, O mighty armed Arjun,
O mighty armed Arjuna,
there is another superior energy of mind,
there is another superior energy of mind
which comprises the living entities,
which comprises the living entities
who are exploiting the resources
who are exploiting the resources
of this material
of
inferior
this-
nature.
of this material inferior nature.
Right? So, for example, there could be a lot of, sand and stones, everything may be lying there. But to build a skyscraper, you need people, you need, people, you need brains to make things happen. Right? So he says the superior energy are the one who are actually using and exploiting my matter which is there to use it and make things. So whatever it is there, the laptop that we are using or anything that we are there, it is being used by the superior energy to make things which can again be used for for their enjoyment or for, yeah. So now let's go to the next joke. एतद् योनीनि भूतानि
एतद्योनीनि भूतानि
सर्वाणीत्य उपधारय
सर्वाणीत्युपधारय
अहं कृत्स्नस्य जगतः
अहं कृष्णस्य जगतः
प्रभवः प्रलयस्तथा
प्रभवः प्रलयस्तथा
एतद् योनीनि भूतानि
एतद्योनीनि भूतानि
सर्वाणीत्युपधारय
सर्वाणीत्युपधारय
अहं कृत्स्नस्य जगतः
अहं कृष्णस्य जगतः
प्रभवः प्रलयस्तथा.
प्रभवः प्रलयस्तथा.
माताजी.
इदं योनि भूतानि
योनीनि भूतानि
सर्वाणीति उपधार्य
सर्वाणीत्युपधार्य
अहं कृष्णस्य जगतः
अहं कृष्णस्य जगतः प्रलयस्तथा. So here Krishna says, Etar yonini bhutani sarvani. Sarvani is all. Bhutani is living entities. Now, all these living entities that you have seen, all these entities that you see has their source in two things. And what are these two things? Either they are material or spiritual. That is what it is. Either they are matter or spirit. Anything that you see in this world, either it will be a matter or it will be a spirit. Right? That's what it is there. And you should aham kitsans jagata. And aham is I. This jagat, of this entire thing, I am the source of prabhava. Prabhava means origin. I am the origin of everything. Pralaystatha, and also the pralay, the dissolution of everything. Everything happens, gets created. I am the cause of all causes. Everything gets originated because of me. It gets created because of me, by me, and everything also dissolutes and ends into me. That's what he says, right? So now, let's read the English translation. All created beings
All created beings
have their source in these two natures.
have their source in these two natures.
Of all that is material
Of all that is material
and all that is spiritual
and all that is spiritual
in this world,
in this world,
know for certain
know for certain
that I am both the origin
that I am both the origin
and the dissolution.
and the dissolution.
Right? Now think about a child. The child grows from a boyhood to a manhood to an old age. All these things are happening because the spirit soul is present. If the spirit soul is not present, what will happen? It's a dead matter. Everything is there, only that spirit soul is not there, right? So everything, the matter also changes because of the presence of spirit soul. Now, to understand his, he says he's the source of all prabhava, he's the origin of all, and he's also the dissolution, he's also pralay for everything. So I'll tell you the story of Markandeya Rishi. Yeah. So Markandeya Rishi, he's actually he's one of the rishi who has been blessed. He has conquered death. So he had been there for if you look at our timelines, we talks about Manvantara. So currently all of us are in the seventh. For us it is Manu and Shatrupa. Manu and Shatrupa, and they have their, so each time they have their different manvantras. There are 14 manvantras. After 14 mantras there will be pralay. And currently we are in 7th Manvantara. Manvantara is the calendar of Manu. Okay, so it is the 7th month. So what do you call it? Markandeya Rishi was there in the previous Manvantara also, and is there now and will also be there in future. That is the Ashirvad he has got. That is the blessing he has got. So he had been doing tapasya for millions and millions of years. In all the 6 manvantras, he had been doing the tapasya. And what happened in the seventh manvantara, in this manvantara, Indra got very scared. He thought, now Markandeya Rishi is doing such a big tapasya, maybe he'll take my seat. He will actually ask for heaven, and probably I will. And who is Indra? He's the Lord of heaven. He's the Lord of so he's the heaven. So he says he'll probably take my position. So he was scared. So what he did, he sent lot of apsaras. He sent lot of apsaras. He said calm to ensure that his tapasya is broken. It's broken, yeah. But Markandeya Rishi had actually had control over all his senses, and whatever the apsaras did, no one could break his tapasya. And when they all went back, even the Kamdev came, no one could do anything. When they all got tired and went back, then Hari, Lord Krishna, he came. And he says, he came in the form of Narayan Rishi. And he says, I'm extremely happy with you, Markandeya Rishi. I'm very happy. What do you want from me? Yeah, you had been doing such great tapasyas from so much thing. What do you want? So he says, he opened his eyes. He was extremely happy to see Narayan Rishi. And he says, okay, I want to see your Maya. I want to see your illusionary power. Okay. He said, I want to see your illusionary power. So Hari smiled. He says, Eva Mastu, whatever you want, I will do that. And he went back to Badrika Ashram. So even if today you go to Badrinath, in Badrika Ashram is Badrinath, when you go there, you will see the 2 mountains, Narayan there. They are nothing but the rishis. Narayan Rishis are there. And that is the only place where you will see the Saraswati Nadi. We talk about Saraswati Nadi, right? That is
Vishakhapatnam somewhere.
Badrinath, Himalayas. Badrinath. When you go to Badrinath in the Himalayas, that is the last part of, that is there's a village called Mana. That is the last village of India, or rather, it's the first village of India, it's said. It's the first village of India, and there you will see the Saraswati Nadi flowing. Yeah, you will see the Saraswati Nadi flowing, and there's the Badrika Ashram. So Badri, that is, and Krishna says that he never leaves that place. He's always there. So he had advised Uddhav. Uddhav said when he was leaving this, he was disappearing. When Krishna was disappearing, he said that, where should I go? I cannot live without you. He says, you go to Badrika Ashram because I never leave that place. So he's there. Yeah. So now, Markandeya Rishi, he said, okay, I want to see your illusionary power. Said, okay, fine. Now Markandeya Rishi is doing his tapasya, he is doing his evening prayers, and suddenly what happened? There was a strong wind, and the entire cloud started happening, and there was the cloud started pouring. And the pouring was not just XYZ, it was like, it was the pralay pouring. It was pouring so much that the entire area got flooded, and he could see he was surrounded by oceans on all the sides. And he is actually near Badrika Ashram. He's there only, and he's seeing everything is surrounded by all the mountains. Everything is now, it has gone in ocean, and he's seeing sea monsters there. He's seeing big fishes, big sea animals. He's getting surrounded by that, and now he's struggling. He doesn't know what to do, and he's trying to save his life, and he's swimming in the ocean, and he's just from one side the waves is hitting him, the other side the waves is hitting him. He's like a ball. He's moving around in that, and this way years and years and years, and again millions of years have passed, and he's seeing entire side. He's surrounded by water, nothing else, and he's wondering what to do. He's getting bewildered. After many millions years, he saw a small island, and in that island he saw a big banyan tree coming up, and from that tree, one of the branch of that tree was actually touching the water, and then there was a banyan, the leaf was there on the water, and on that water he saw a small baby. He was there on that blue colored baby was there on the leaf, and that baby, the blue colored baby with lotus eyes, was actually, the toes was his in mouth. And what is the shlok? Kararavindam. So that shlok is here on this particular thing. Yeah, so he's seeing that there's a small banyan leaf, and there the small baby is on that leaf, and Markandeya Rishi is wondering. He was so happy to see that island finally with the tree, and he's wondering how come that small boy, he's swimming in this particular ocean, and he wanted to save that child, and he started swimming towards that child. And as soon as he came near that child, what happened? The child inhaled, and Markandeya Rishi, like a mosquito, went inside the belly of the child, and inside the belly he's seeing again is the entire ocean. Everything is ocean, and he's seeing that he can see the Badrika Ashram, he can see the Narayan mountain, and he can see his own kuti, he can see his own hut, and he's sitting in front of the hut, and he's seeing that his own hut is there. And then he's wondering, okay, what is this? And by the time he could think of that, he's exhaled and he's again back in the external ocean. And when he's in the external ocean, and I mean, he's totally bewildered. What's happening? And then still he can see, okay, that he can again see that island, and he can see that banyan tree there. And he could seize the child, and he was going to hold the child, and then he saw that the child disappeared. And when the child disappeared, by the time he has understood, he thought about Krishna, and he saw that he was actually sitting outside his hut and was in his position and doing his prayers.
And he saw all that.
Yeah, so this was his Krishna's illusionary power. So the Prabhava, he is the source of all origin. He is also the dissolution. He is the source of pralaya also. Yeah, that's the story which is again in Bhagavatam, the 12th canto of Bhagavatam about Markandeya Rishi. And so this is what it is. The pralaya is also caused by him. The recreation also happens because of him. So he is the source of, he's the cause of all causes. Yeah. Now let's go to the next shlok, which is Mattah Parataram Nanyat.
Mattah Parataram Nanyat.
कश्चित् अस्ति धनञ्जय
किञ्चिदस्ति धनञ्जय
मयि सर्वम् इदं प्रोक्तम्
मयि सर्वमिदं प्रोक्तम्
सूत्रे मणिगणा इव
सूत्रे मणिगणा इव
मत्तः परतरं नान्यत्
मत्तः परतरं नान्यत्
किञ्चिदस्ति धनञ्जय
किञ्चिदस्ति धनञ्जय
मयि सर्वम् इदं प्रोक्तम्
मयि सर्वमिदं प्रोक्तम्
सूत्रे मणिगणा इव
सूत्रे मणिगणा इव मत्तः परतरं नान्यत्
मत्तः परतरं नान्यत्
किञ्चिदस्ति धनञ्जय
किञ्चिदस्ति धनञ्जय
मयि सर्वमिदं प्रोक्तम्
मयि सर्वमिदं प्रोक्तम्
सूत्रे मणिगणा इव
सूत्रे मणिगणा इव. Now Krishna says, Matta parataram न अन्यत्. Matta okay. Matta parataram nanyat. This parataram is nothing higher than me. Parataram is higher than me. Na anyat. There's nothing. Matta is from me. There's nothing higher than me. Kanchidasti. There's nothing higher than me. Dhananjaya. Dhananjaya is Arjun. Mai sarvam idam protam. Sutre manigada. Everything is actually stitched by me. Because of me, everything happens. Just like Sutre manigada iva. Madi is, just like a necklace. Just like the madi, the beads that you have in the necklace, they all are joined together by the sutra, by the thread, by the sutra like thread. Just like all the beads, money are joined together in a necklace by the sutra, by the thread. So, and everything is because of that sutra, because of that string, which is unseen, but they are together because of that. So everything exists, rests upon me. Everything exists and rests upon me. Just like the sutra string through which all the beads are connected. Okay? Let's read the meaning. O conqueror of wealth,
O conqueror of wealth,
there is no truth superior to me.
there is no truth superior to me.
Everything rests upon me.
Everything rests upon me.
As pearls are strung on a thread.
As pearls are strung on a thread.
So he says, he is the supreme. There's nothing beyond me. There's no truth above me. Right? And everything rests upon me. Everything is there because of me. And just like the pearls are strung in a. So now, to explain this, so there's this. So basically, among the devatas, what happened? That there was a discussion who is supreme. Yeah. And then they selected Bhrigu Rishi, Bhrigu Muni. They called Bhrigu Muni and said, we don't know among Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh who is supreme. And we want you to help us find it out. Yeah. So Bhrigu Muni, when we read the 10th chapter, in the 10th chapter, Krishna says, among the Rishi, among the sages, I am Bhrigu. He'll say that. Now they called Bhrigu Muni and said that we want you to find out and help us to find out who is supreme. Bhrigu Muni said, okay, yes, fine. So in the thing, Bhrigu Muni is the son of Brahma. So first he went to Brahma. And he entered into Brahma's lok. He went in front of Brahma and he just sat there. Now he's his son. So he's supposed to do pranama, bend down. He didn't do anything very arrogantly. He just came and sat in front of him in an arrogant way. Brahma felt insulted. He felt angry, but he left it there. He didn't say anything. He controlled it. So Bhrigu could see that, he felt he didn't like it. So he could see that, and then he knew, okay, because he has still not controlled his anger, so definitely he is not the supreme one. Then he went to Shiva. He went to Mahesh. And he said, and now Shiva was sitting with Parvati to insult. So his intention was how much I can insult and see whether whether they react to it or not. They get angry to it or not. So he went inside the Shiva and Parvati. They were sitting together. He went there and he started he started shouting at him loudly. Shiva didn't say anything. He said, okay, come, you are my, I want to embrace you. He says, so if he said, okay, he insulted, Shiva didn't react. So he said, okay, how can I embrace you? your full body, you just take the, you know, ashes from the crematorium and your full body is covered with that. And you have all the nagas on your body. You are so dirty. How can I even touch you? And he could see that Shiva's eyes become big, and again he controlled himself. He said, okay, okay. So now not him. So now then he went to, and now he wanted to insult Vishnu even more. So what he went? He went directly to Vishnu. He was sitting with Lakshmi. He went and he took his, with his leg, he hit hard on his chest. Now that was the highest insult someone could do. He went and as soon as, because he was lying down, and he came and he just hit on him. Now Vishnu immediately got up and he held his leg and got down and said, oh, I hope your leg did not get hurt. If I would have known that you are going to do this way, I would have made my chest softer. So then he said, oh, okay. Now Lakshmi got very annoyed and she actually cursed Brahmins that you will never have wealth. Yeah, you will always be, you know, your wealth will never stay with you. It will keep on moving. So Lakshmi got, but anyway, Vishnu knew everything what's happening. So by this he went and told that Vishnu is the highest. Now, another story that happened was when this Akrur. Akrur, we all know about Vrindavan and Krishna and how Krishna came to it was with Yashoda and Nandan Yashoda, right? Now there was a time when it was a time for Krishna to end his Vrindavan Leela and go to Mathura Leela, right? It was time for him to go to Vrindavan Leela, right? So at that point of time, what happened when he had to go to the Vrindavan Leela? At that point of time, Akrur was sent by Kans. Akrur was sent by Kans to go and bring Krishna and Balram from Vrindavan to Mathura, right? He was sent. Now Akrur, he stayed with Kans because by then Kans known that actually Krishna is in Vrindavan, and he knew, and it was like he has to be brought back, and he had made a plan for killing Krishna, right? Now when Akrur only stayed with Kans because he knew that if he'll be with Kans, he will be able to meet Krishna one day. Yeah. So now when Akrur went to Vrindavan and he saw Krishna and Balram, he saw a small two, little boys. He was like, first he was so happy to see them, but when he was bringing them to Mathura, he felt so sad because he was thinking, oh, these two young boys, what will happen if I take them to Mathura? Kans is going to kill them. So on the way back, when he was being taken from Vrindavan to Mathura, Akrur kept on telling Krishna and Balram that, what is going to happen. Actually, Kans has not called to you to take part in that match, but actually his intention is to kill you, and I'm so worried about you, and I'm so bad that I'm bringing both of you to Mathura. So he was feeling extremely bad, and he was feeling what is happening. So what happened in the meantime, when he was going on the way to Mathura, he actually stopped his chariot when Krishna and Balram was sitting, and he said, okay, give me some time, let me go and take a dip in Yamuna. And when he went to Yamuna, and when he took the dip inside, he saw Krishna and Balram sitting inside the river. So he was surprised that he has left them back in the chariot. How come Krishna and Balram is sitting here? Then he looked up and he saw chariot, they are also there. And here inside the river also he found both of them. So now just to confirm that he is really seeing them, he again took a dip inside. And then what happened? He saw that Balram in the form of Sheshnag. He saw Balram in the form of Sheshnag. And he saw Krishna actually lying down on Sheshnag as a Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. And then he understood, and this actually they gave him that vision so that Akrur was so scared about that little boy, to let Akrur know that they are not normal young boys, they are actually. So he gave them that vision. So this was again a relation of Vishnu and Krishna. That's why I was telling you the story. So here Krishna says that basically anything and everything rests upon him, and he's the cause of all causes, right? So this is the 7th shlok. I think it's already time, so I will not continue more. I will stop here. So then we will probably take the next shlok, because it's so it's okay. I think it's almost time. I mean, this is the next phase. So we actually covered the 7th to rather 4th to 7th, which is talking about Krishna being the cause of all causes. Now from 8th to 12th, it will be he's the essence of everything. Not only that he is the cause of all causes, but he is the essence of everything that exists in the entire world. So I will leave it there because that is a continuation. So with this, we'll close today's class. Let us chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. With this, we end our class today. Thank you.